Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hello, my name is Widi Ananta. In this session, I will describe about the future building with BIM. Okay, the table of contents of this session is number 1, summary, that will describe about important paragraph stating the background of BIM. And number 2 is introduction, that will describe about preliminary explanation of BIM. Number 3 is the development of BIM up to 2010. That will describe about explanation of BIM before 2010. And number 4 is current trends of BIM. That will describe about the BIM phenomenon in 2010. And the 5 is vision of BIM in 2015. That will describe about BIM vision development in 2015. And the last is BIM impacts up to 2020. That will describe about driver of change and impact of BIM in up to 2020. Okay, the number 1 is summary, that will describe about important paragraphs starting the background of BIM. The first announcement is BIM is not a thing or a type of software, but a human activity that ultimately involves broad process change in construction. A survey conducted in early 2007 found that 28% of the US AIC industry was using BIM tools. That number had grown to 49% by 2009. In 2007, only 14% of users surveyed considered themselves to be expert or advanced. By 2009, 42% did. In the period of from 2007 to 2010, contractors were the fastest developer of BIM. Talking about BIM is about progress, which can start from describing the conception and maturation of BIM until 2010. BIM provides a perspective on what will happen in the future. The forecast is divided into 2 time frames. A fairly confident forecast about the future seen 5 years after 2010 to 2015, and a more speculative forecast time frame in 2020. The forecast time frame reflects current market trends from 2010 to 2015. Long-term forecast on likely driver analysis and fair amount of intuition through 2020. After 2020, the potential advance in hardware and software technology and business practice make it impossible to predict anything reliable given the rapid progress of BIM. Progress of BIM start in 2000. That will describe in research concept. 2010 start to roll. 2015 in application. 2020 is rapid development, and in this future is innovative. Number 2 is introduction, that will describe about preliminary explanation of BIM. BIM is change the way buildings look, the way they function, and the ways in which they are built. Through this book, we have intentionally and inconsistently used the term BIM to describe an activity or building information model, rather than an object as in building information model. This reflects our belief that BIM is not a thing or type of software, but a human activity that ultimately involves broad progress change in construction. In this chapter, we aim to provide two perspectives on the future of building using BIM, where BIM is taking the AIC industry and where the AIC industry is talking about. And the statement of Pierre Nederman of as a CEO of Accenture. She said that digital is the main reason just over half of the companies on the Fortune 500 have disappeared since the year 2000. And then we begin with a short introduction describing the conception of maturation of BIM until the present 2010. We then provide our perspective on what the future holds. The forecast is divided into two time frames, a fairly confident forecast of the near future that looks ahead to the next 5 years until 2015, and a more speculative long-term focus looking ahead to the year 2020. The near-term forecasts reflect current market trends, many of which are discussed in earlier chapters of this book, and then review current research. The long-term forecast relies on an analysis of likely driver and a fair amount of inflation. By 2020, potential advances in hardware and software technologies as well as business practice make it impossible to predict anything reliable, and so we refrain from speculation. And after 2020, construction industry analysts will reflect with the benefit of hindsight on the process change that will have occurred by 2020. They will likely find it difficult to distinguish definitely between such influence as BIM on construction and performance-driven design. In the absence of each other, these techniques could theoretically flourish on their own. Their impact, however, are complementary in important ways, and they are being adopted simulation practice. Examples of their synergies are apparent in some of the case studies in the following chapter, such as Southern Medical Center and the Crucial Bridge Project. Research have cataloged some 55 positive interactions between BIM and non-construction. And number 3, will explain about the development of BIM up to 2010. BIM technology involved both a research compact concept and commercially viable tool in the earliest years of 2000 and is on its way to becoming indissoluble from building design and construction. The transition to BIM, however, was not a natural progression from computer-aided drafting or CAD. It involved a paradigm shift from drawing to modeling. Modeling provides a different abstraction and model development process, leading to the new ways of design. BIM also was facilitated by the concurrent shift from traditional competitive project delivery model to more collaborative practice in design and construction in the 20s. The concept of computer modeling for building was first proposed when the earliest software products for building design were being developed. Progress toward BIM is constrained first by the cost of computing power and then by the successful adoption of CAD. But idealists in academia and the construction software industry persist, and the research needs to make BIM practical is moving forward. The foundation for modeling object-oriented building products were laid through the 1990s to 2000s. Parametric 3D modeling is developed both in research and by software companies for specific market sectors, such as structural steel. Today's BIM tools are the fulfillment of the vision that many have predicted for at least the last 3 decades, starting 1918. BIM technology will continue to develop rapidly, just like the concept of how BIM tools software drive the development of construction technology. The new vision of the future of development with BIM enhances the workflow and current construction practice required. Students and educators teaching architects, civil engineers, contractors, building owners, and professionals all must understand not only current capabilities but also future trends and their potential impact on industrial building. And number 4 is current trends of BIM that will describe about the BIM phenomenon in 2010. Market and technology trends are good predictor of the short-term future. BIM is no exception. The observed trend reveal the potential direction and influence of BIM in the construction industry. The visionary owner demands BIM and has developed contractor and contractor guidelines to enable the use of BIM. The first was from the General Service Administration or GSA of the US government, representing modern owner who demand mandatory use of BIM model capable of supporting automated checks to determine whether a design met program requirement. In addition, Shelter Health, a California medical service provider with a multi-billion-dollar construction program, is actively encouraging its providers' use of BIM as an integral part of its land construction practice. Maryland General Hospital owners reap the benefit of a detailed facility maintenance database collected during construction and commissioning by contractor using BIM. BIM process and technology trends. This about process trends is number 1, owner are demanding BIM and change contract terms to enable its issue. 2 is new skills and roles are developing. And next, a recent survey showed that the proportion of very heavy BIM user among our respondents grew from 34% in 2008 to 45% in 2009. Successful implementation in construction have led to corporate with uptake by general construction. And then the benefit of integrated practice are receiving with review and being tested intensively in practice. And then standard default are gathering steam. And then grand building is increasingly demanded by clients. And the last is BIM and 4D CAD tools have become common tools in large construction site office. And the technology trends is number 1, automate checking for code conformance and constructability using building information model is become available. And then major BIM platform vendor are adding functionally and integrating design assessment capabilities, providing even richer platform for use. And vendors are increasingly expanding their scope and providing discipline-specific BIM tools. And then building product manufacturers are beginning to provide parametric 3D catalog. And then BIM tools with construction management function are increasingly available. BIM is encouraging prefabrication for increasingly complex building sub-assemblies which can be procured globally. The development of construction project with BIM in the 2010s. Number 1 is leading MIA companies are increasingly realizing that the future development process will require the integrated practice of the entire construction team and will be facilitated by BIM. And number 2 is the American Institute of Architects has published guidelines for integrated project delivery or IPD, and many successful application case studies have been reported in 2010. And number 3 is in 2006, the American Institute of Steel Construction changed its standard code of practice to require 3D model. Number 4 is green building are increasingly demanded by public awareness of the threat of climate change. And number 5 is BIM integrated 4D CAD tools are become more common in construction office. And then multi-display environment or information interaction workspace are found in many office and locations. An automated model verification tool to check program compliance and construction capability using building information model is available. And number 8 is BIM vendors are increasingly expanding their scope and providing specialist tools for a growing set of disciplines. Example is Autodesk. Number 9, manufacturer of building product began to provide 3D catalog. Then, an extension of 4D CAD to include cost called 5D CAD, and a further extension to include additional management parameters in ND CAD have been carried out by various BIM providers. And then the concept of virtual construction is no longer just for community research. And 12, BIM helps make the fabrication of increasingly complex building sub-assemblies economically and globally visible. Aviva Stadium is an excellent example of design for fabrication. And 13, technological development in peripheral hardware make it possible to connect the future world of BIM to the world of physical construction. And last, RFID tagging was used to monitor more than 3,000 precast concrete components through the concrete supply can at the Meadowlands Stadium project in New Jersey. And number 5 is about vision of BIM in 2015. That will explain about BIM vision development in 2015. We know that the realization of many of the ideas of the BIM vision in 2015 is seen from the increasing number of successful implementations, changes in the building industry, and the use of the new trial expansion of what can be achieved with BIM beyond its current use. 2015 saw also the transition of BIM to accepted mainstream practice, and the transition will impact all building professionals and participants. But the greatest impact is on individual practitioners who need to study, work, design, engineer, build, or manage with BIM. And then impact of using BIM in 2015 is first impact on owner, better option, better reliability. Number 2, impact on design profession is shifting surface and rules. Impact on construction companies is BIM at the construction site. In the contracting is closer collaboration among designer and contractor. And impact on construction education is integrated education in statutory authorized is planting the seed of online access and review. And the impact on project documentation is on demand drawing. On BIM tools is more integration, more specialization, and more information. And in the research, the impact is model analysis, simulation, and work process. And the impact of Vision 2015 is the limitation. And number 6, about BIM impacts up to 2020. That will describe about driver of change and impact of BIM in up to 2020. We know that the driver of change that might motivate the people and organization involved to use BIM and the barriers they may face without using BIM is that BIM is judged to be able to address all the needs that exist in 2020 and beyond. With this in mind, development in the field of BIM technology are very rapid, even though they must be accompanied by such a great adaptation. This can be seen from the delivery of building information, design surface, building product specification, code checks, construction management practice, work, professional rules, and the integration of building information into sound business system. And the driver of change and the impact of BIM until 2020 is first economic, technological, and societal drivers. Second, obstacles to change, and then development of BIM tools, and then rule of drawings, and then design profession, include providing new service. And number 6 is integrated design, build, service, and agreement. And number 7 is building product manufacture, such as intelligent product specs, and then construction regulation, such as automate code checking. Number 9 is land construction and BIM. And then 10 is construction companies, such as information integration. And the last is BIM skills and employment new rules. And the BIM's futures is huge because BIM is technology future then very huge. Thanks for your attentions. If do you have any question, you can call in my email, my WhatsApp, or anything. Thank you very much. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.